The Ether Bitcoin ratio has hit a multi-year low despite a strong developer community behind it. So what's the sentiment in the Ethereum camp? Let's hear from experts from Token 2049. First up is Alex Ivanovic of Danson, who is bullish on Ethereum but isn't sure it will succeed.
And it still has great builders. The EVM ecosystem overall has, the best infrastructure and the most developers. But again, is EVM the same as Ethereum? Right? Like it's actually not, right? Because I think EVM is thriving, but it's not clear that Ethereum itself is thriving. It's a bit of an odd thing. I don't know if the right analogy is like, JavaScript and Netscape or something, right? Like JavaScript succeeded, Netscape didn't, So maybe it's the same thing with EVM and Ethereum.
Next, we turn to Maxim Balashevich of Santiment, who sees opportunity in Ethereum's current dip.
Interesting opportunity, because you don't get so often in a major coins like Bitcoin, Ethereum, on anything from top 10 where it gets to like extremely crowd sentiment. And for us, anytime it gets to extreme or visible sentiment, be it positive or negative, it's always an opportunity. And negative sentiment indeed for Ethereum, it's probably in my memory only second time. I remember first time was in 16 after the DAO, and then they had some DDoS attack and the network was struggling. It was very negative sentiment. After the DAO too, but Eric was criticized by some people. And now it's the second time. So at that time was good to buy an opportunity, and I think this time is good as well. It is an opportunity.
Alessandro Massi from P2P also sees the current ETH BTC ratio dip as a temporary situation.
My personal view is that this is also very temporary. So if there is maybe this downtrend in ETC BTC ratio, it's probably more a temporary thing due to maybe other factors like macro factors, for example, rather than a systemic problem in the Ethereum community. I've seen this ecosystem growing a lot through often critiques on how Ethereum will not scale, the problem with the fees, and then the community getting back and delivering the changes. Before that, the whole thing, proof of stake was never going to happen. So somehow, I think Ethereum community as an ecosystem has proven that it's always overcoming all those challenges, all these critiques. So that gives me this kind of belief that this is probably more a temporary thing, and that's a moment for the ecosystem to adjust itself.
Finally, we turn to Ervit Goel from Optimism, who says builders remain focused despite price fluctuations.
There's the outspoken crypto community on Twitter, which is strictly focused on price action. In the world that we live in, price action is not nearly as important for the things that we're building. In terms of what does it mean for our roadmap, the things that we're building and what developers are building, price action doesn't change that. But at the end of the day, you talk to builders and teams looking to build layer 2s, it hasn't slowed down, right? And you'll realize that the builder sentiment, I think, is still at all-time highs in terms of what teams can do with the infrastructure now and where the technology is than it was, say, 6 months ago. We've done work where it's costs, brought the cost of running a blockchain down by 99% this year. So that opens up so much surface area for smaller dApps and smaller developers to go build their own chains who would have previously had to rely on someone else's ecosystem and not bring value back into their own ecosystem. And so there's just a lot more opportunity now than there has been. And how that reflects in price action, I wish I could predict that, but at the end of the day, the developer sentiment, I'd say, is at all-time highs or pretty darn close to all-time highs.
So while price may be struggling, the morale among developers and long-term believers seems strong. What do you think? Is Ethereum's current dip a temporary situation or something bigger? Let us know in the comments below.